Tonight at 10, His Majesty the King inaugurates a wind power project in the southern Tafila Governorate, a success story on attracting investments to the renewable energy sector. The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs conveys a written message from His Majesty to the Japanese Prime Minister dealing with the historic ties between the two countries. And Libya's warring factions sign a UN-brokered agreement to form a national government, a deal Western powers hope will bring stability to the country. Good evening and welcome to the 10 o'clock news. His Majesty the King inaugurated a wind power project in the southern Tafila Governorate, the first of its kind in the kingdom and the region. The Tafila wind farm project has a power generation capacity of 170 megawatts that can create 400 gigawatts per hour annually. The venture is a part of a royal vision to diversify energy resources in the kingdom and boost the renewable energy contribution in the total energy mix. The $287 million project is a model of the public-private partnership and a success story on attracting investments to the renewable energy sector. At the project control room, the King pushed a button, sending energy generated by the wind into the national electricity grid. His Majesty was briefed on the mechanism through which the wind energy is transferred into electricity. The project comes within the national efforts to increase the contribution of the renewable energy resources to 10% of the kingdom's energy mix by 2020. Jordan Wind Project Company Executive Chairman Samer Jude said the project is a live example of how to exploit renewable energy resources while safeguarding Jordan's interest and the planet as a whole.
This 117 megawatt wind farm, sir, is the first and largest privately sponsored utility scale wind project in the region, and it gives me great pride that it was developed here in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Our country has indeed suffered from serious challenges due to the high energy bill and the security of energy imports. It has, however, abundant renewable energy sources, and this project is a live example of how to exploit them while safeguarding the interests of Jordan and the planet as a whole. Addressing the world's leaders in Paris just 2 weeks ago, Your Majesty called the fight to protect the planet's dwindling resources and climate as the fight of our generation. Today, after 20 years of negotiations, the world has agreed to work collectively to save the planet, pledging $100 billion annually in climate finance for poorer countries.
It comes to us without surprise that this first-of-its-kind project has taken place in Jordan. Our Euro-Mediterranean Fund considers Jordan to be one of the most inviting countries to invest in the Mediterranean region. The Jordanian business community shows an impressive sense of hospitality and professionalism. The general attitude vis-à-vis foreign investors is positive, and international shareholders can rely on the Jordanian legal system.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs Nasser Jude conveyed a written message from His Majesty the King to the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The message, which was delivered during a meeting in Tokyo, dealt with the historic ties between Jordan and Japan, as well as keenness to further boost them in the interests of both peoples. The two sides stressed the importance of following up on meetings of His Majesty with the Japanese Prime Minister, especially during the climate summit in Paris, as well as the UN General Assembly meetings in New York. Jude and Abe discussed efforts to counter terrorism and extremism that threaten the whole world. They also reviewed efforts to achieve a political solution to the Syrian crisis that put an end to the suffering of the Syrian people. The foreign minister spoke about the burden being borne by Jordan as a result of hosting more than 1.4 million Syrian refugees, who are placing an increasing pressure on the kingdom's resources. The Japanese Prime Minister voiced appreciation for efforts of His Majesty the King to bring about security and stability in the Middle East, noting that Japan is keen to cooperate with Jordan in various domains in the interest of both peoples and countries. Delegates from Libya's warring factions signed a UN-brokered agreement to form a national government, a deal that Western powers hope will bring stability and help fight a growing Daesh presence. The UN deal calls for a presidential council to lead a unified government. Under the deal, a 9-member presidential council will form a government with the current Eastern-based House of Representatives as the main legislative and a state council as a second consultative chamber. The Presidential Council will name a new government in a month, and UN Security Council resolution will endorse it. But the government faces questions about how representative the proposed government will be, how it will set up in Tripoli, and how various armed factions on the ground will react to a government critics say was imposed on Libya. The Syrian opposition elected former Prime Minister Riyad Hijab as a coordinator of a body that is expected to lead future peace talks. Hijab was chosen during a meeting in the Saudi capital Riyadh by a majority of 24 votes of the 34 members of the body. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow would continue its airstrikes in Syria for as long as the Syrian army continued its own military operations. Putin said he broadly supported U.S. plans to try to push forward the Syrian peace process. But he signaled Moscow was not yet ready to withdraw its support for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, saying a new constitution needed to be drawn up and elections held to determine the fate of the conflict-torn country. His comments followed a visit to Moscow by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry this week and come on the eve of a meeting of world powers in New York tomorrow to discuss Syria.
We think that Syrian people alone should determine who they want to rule them, under which standards and which rules. So in general, and I will say an important thing now, we support the initiative of the United States, including the one on preparation of the UN Security Council resolution on Syria. It is this draft resolution that the Secretary of State brought with him. In general, we agree with it. I think Syrian authorities will also agree with it when they look through the draft.
United States Defense Secretary Ash Carter arrived in the regional capital of Erbil and held talks with the Kurdish President Masoud Barzani and a number of Kurdish officials on ways to intensify the battle against Daesh. Carter earlier held talks with a number of Iraqi officials, including Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi and Defense Minister Khalid al-Abadi, discussing the idea of greater U.S. contributions to the fight against Daesh. Carter said Washington is willing to do more to support Iraqi security forces and eventually set their sights on Mosul, Iraq's second largest city that has been under the jihadist control since June 2014. But he stressed that all U.S. action in Iraq would only be done with the Prime Minister Abadi's approval, respecting Iraqi sovereignty. Carter also told Congress this month that the United States is willing to deploy advisors and attack helicopters if requested by Iraq to help her retake Ramadi west of Baghdad. Israeli troops on patrol in the occupied West Bank shot dead a Palestinian. The Israeli forces claimed that they spotted a man near the village of Hawara and attempted to question him, but he ran towards them holding a knife and was shot dead. UN-sponsored Yemeni peace talks in Switzerland appeared to be struggling amid differences over government demands for the release of senior officials held by the Iran-allied Houthis. According to tribal and medical resources, the dispute comes amid fresh fighting between the Houthis and forces loyal to President Abd Rabba Mansour Hadi, in which at least 15 people were killed from both sides. The sources said direct talks between the two sides have been suspended after the Houthis rejected demands to free senior officials, including Defense Minister Mahmoud al-Sbahi and Hadi's brother Nasser. A 34-year-old slice of cake from the royal wedding of Princess Diana and Prince Charles and a White House rocking chair used by John F. Kennedy will be among the items auctioned offline. The cake slice of fruit cake being auctioned is packaged in the original white and silver presentation box, dated Buckingham Palace 29th of July 1981. The cake slice including the original gift card stating, "With best wishes from Their Royal Highnesses, the Prince and Princess of Wales."
Other things that we were verification.
Jose Mourinho was sacked as a manager of Premier League champions Chelsea after a calamitous run of results left the London club 1 point above the relegation zone. The club said on their official Twitter account that Chelsea Football Club and Jose Mourinho have today parted company by mutual consent. Chelsea were beaten 2-1 by surprise leaders Leicester City today, their 9th defeat in 16 league matches. The 52-year-old Portuguese was welcomed back as a returning hero in 2013 after spells at Inter Milan and Real Madrid, and soon delivered a third league title. And suspended FIFA President Sepp Blatter arrived today at FIFA headquarters for his hearing before the group's ethics panel. FIFA's investigators call for sanctions against Blatter and European soccer chief Michel Platini, both of whom were suspended from their posts for 90 days pending a full investigation. Blatter will testify, while Platini, who was scheduled to appear tomorrow, said through his lawyer that he will not attend his hearing in protest at what he condemns as a political process designed to prevent him running to lead the world governing body. And finally, cold and partly cloudy skies continue for the rest of tonight, with frost formation after midnight in the Bandia regions and the hilly areas. Similar conditions prevail across the kingdom tomorrow, with possible light rain in the northern regions, and winds will be southwesterly moderate. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect relatively cold conditions tomorrow, with northerly moderate to brisk winds and slightly high seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. And to close here our top stories once again. His Majesty the King inaugurates a wind power project in the southern Tafila Governorate, a success story on attracting investments to the renewable energy sector. The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs conveys a written message from His Majesty to the Japanese Prime Minister dealing with the historic ties between the two countries. And Libya's warring factions sign a UN-brokered agreement to form a national government, a deal Western powers hope will bring stability to the country. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Balkar. Thank you for watching and have a good night. Stay warm.